Hello, hello, magical souls. Today we are talking about a very fun subject, and that is the subject of old souls. And how do you know if you are an old soul? So I think that it's important to know that you are probably an old soul if you are listening to this, but let's go through the top 10 absolutely reasons. So, I mean, now nobody can determine whether, the someone is an old soul from a checklist alone, but many people resonate with certain experiences that associate with a deep sense of inner wisdom. And we're going to have a little bit of a fun today. So let's look at number 10. So if you've always felt slightly different, you fitted in but never quite fit in, something like that, almost as though someone accidentally dropped you into the wrong century or the wrong family. That's something that I always said. I'm sure I'm adopted, but then obviously genetics proved me wrong. But okay, I did feel like I was adopted for sure. Definitely couldn't be part of that family. Anyway, so number 9. This is one of my favorite things. Small talk exhausts me, and I'm sure it exhausts you too. I can discuss the meaning of life until 2 a.m., but 10 minutes talking about the weather give me strength. And I suddenly need a snack for sure. So let's look at number 8. So if you think people you've only just met start telling you their life story, and you only asked where the supermarket was, then 20 minutes later, you're discussing their childhood and why they never followed their dream of becoming a dolphin trainer, then you're an old soul. That's what people do. Um, Tend to find that if you work in an office or something like that, then people tend to come to you and ask you to solve all their problems. Okay. So number 7 is also quite fun. You've always been fascinated by ancient civilizations, history, or spiritual traditions, maybe Egypt, Lemuria, Atlantis, sacred geometry, or maybe you've always felt drawn to a particular place without really knowing why. Or you need to avoid a place like crazy. I used to have to avoid Egypt because the thought of Egypt meant death. My whole body told me, do not go to Egypt, you're going to die there. So obviously I've overcome that, but that's definitely one of the top things to show you that you are an old soul. Okay, so let's move on to number 6. You seem to learn life's lessons through experience rather than reading the instruction manual. Sometimes repeatedly because apparently your soul enjoys a challenge. That's also definitely a sign that you are an older soul. So let's move on to number 5. You have usually strong intuition. You often know who's calling before the phone rings, and you walk into a room and instantly sense the atmosphere. So this comes up in the readings often that people kind of know what somebody else is thinking before they say it, or they can also see behind the masks. Humans tend to make these very beautiful masks for themselves that they tell themselves and the world around them who they really are and what they really are. But actually, if you're an old soul, you can normally see behind the mask of what somebody's showing you. And also, sometimes you might ignore your intuition, and 5 minutes later, you wish you hadn't. Okay, so that's also a classic sign that you're an old soul. So we're already on number 4 now, over the halfway mark. So if you're an old soul, you will think material things are lovely, but they're not what fully fulfills you, truly fulfills you. So you're more interested in meaning, connection, purpose, growth. That's the good stuff for you. You don't like the basic stuff. Okay. And let's look at number 3. You've always had a desire to help people, whether through healing, maybe teaching, creating art, creating music, creating a book, listening, or simply making one's someone's day with a smile, or brighter by giving them a kind word, anything like that. That's generally the sign of an old soul, and that you're also probably a healer. So let's move on to number two. You've experienced challenges that ultimately transformed you, not because life was punishing you, but because those experiences helped shape the version you've become. And finally, number one, you've always felt that there's something more to life, more to consciousness, more to your own story than what you've seen on the surface. And that curiosity never leaves you. Okay. Now, here's the interesting part. In the Akashic Records, we don't simply ask, am I an old soul? Okay. Instead, we ask, how much instead we ask much more useful questions, like what patterns keep repeating in my life? What lessons am I ready to complete? Whether you see past lives as literal experiences, symbolic stories, or simply a helpful framework for personal reflection, exploring recurring themes can offer fresh insight to why certain relationships, fears, talents, or challenges feel so familiar. Okay, sometimes understanding those patterns can help you move forward with greater clarity, compassion, and if you're curious to learn more, then you are welcome to book a reading with me. Our website is Akashic Record Readings uk.com, and there's not just myself, there's many people on there, people that I've trained to open the Akashic Records that will be able to assist you and help you to do a little bit more of a deep dive into who you are at a soul level, what's going on for you, what relationships you've had with the people in your life in the past. And until next time, stay curious, stay magical. And if a complete stranger keeps telling you their life story in the supermarket, you might just be carrying some wonderfully calming old soul energy after all. Until next time, take care.